Let's look at how easy it is to use the keyguard designer to create a 3D printed keyguard for an AAC app. Specifically, I'll be creating a keyguard for the TouchChat WordPower 60 app running on an iPad 10. The iPad is contained in an AV8WO kids case. That looks like this. I've also captured a screenshot of the app running on that tablet, and it'll be very helpful during the design process. So this is the screenshot that I captured. So before I begin showing you the design process, I should point out that everything in this video and more is documented and described in detail on this webpage on the volkswitch.org website. So I'll start by launching the designer. Right here is it freshly launched, and I'll point out there are three regions to the designer screen. There's a display region here on the upper left. Here you get to see your keyguard and what it will look like based on the instructions you've given the designer at each point in time. Every time you change an instruction, this display will immediately update. Below that design region is the console. If there's a problem, you'll get a hint about why in this region. On the right is the customizer region, where you do almost all of your work. Now, before designing my keyguard, I'm going to create a preset so that all of my instructions for this keyguard get saved. And then I can come back at a later time and easily recreate or modify this design. The way to create that preset is to come up here and press this plus button. Give your preset a name. I think I'll call it something like iPad, spell it right, pad 10 TouchChat WP60 and kids case, something like that. You can be as specific or general as you want to be, but we want to definitely create this named preset. Next, I'll start at the top of the customizer region, and I'll work my way down. Take a look first at the type of keyguard section. You just click on that arrow there. And I really don't need to make any changes here, but I should point out that you can use the designer to create a laser cut keyguard as well. So there are a couple of options here, 3D printed or laser cut. We're going to stay with 3D printed, but you have that other option. In the tablet section, I'm going to change my tablet from the default iPad 9 to iPad 10. And notice that this display, again, updated immediately based on that choice I just made. The other options in this section, I'm just going to leave those unchanged. In the tablet case section, I need to account for this kids case. Primarily, I need to obtain the dimensions of the height of the opening in the case and the width of the opening in the case, and to some degree the case opening corner radius. So what are those? They're these measurements right here. The height of the opening in the case, the width of the opening in the case, and how much of a curved corner the case opening has. So I can either get these measurements directly from the case, or I can check to see if the keyguard AT website has already gathered these measurements for me. So I can go to this page on the keyguard AT Assistive Technology website, and the first thing I do is I look for the entry they have for an iPad 10. Then I'm just going to do a search for the kids case. Let me just do Control F and say AVA. What is it? AVA. There it is right there. And the website tells me that this is just a version of the classic EVA case, and that's where I should look for those measurements. So I'll click here. And what I'll see is the screen opening is 238 millimeters wide and 169 millimeters high. And I'm just going to use those measurements in my designer. Oh, let's see, 238 wide and 169 high. And by default, I've set the corner radius by default is 5 millimeters. I'd say that looks pretty close, so certainly a good starting place for this case, which we can look at again here. That looks pretty close to a 5 millimeter radius. The important thing is not to go too small. It could be a little, the actual case opening could be a little smaller than 5 millimeters. I'm just going to go with 5, and that should still be safe. So we can leave this section the way it already is. And I can go right now and save the entries I've currently put in the designer just by clicking on this button to save any changes I've made to the preset. I know there are changes because I see an asterisk right here. So I'll save these changes. Next, I need to tell the designer how the Touch Chat app is laid out. And I'm not going to demonstrate how I got these values. I'm going to be filling in this region. I'm not going to demonstrate how I got these values because that process it's fairly quick, but you'll want to be able to follow the actual process, and it's described here on this page on the Volkswitch website. Links to these pages are all going to be provided along with the video. So the value for the bottom of the status bar is 36 millimeters. Oh, I'm sorry, 36 pixels. And don't pay any attention to what's going on in the display until you filled in all of these options. The bottom of the upper message bar is 106 pixels. The bottom of the upper command bar is 194 pixels. The top of the lower message bar, and there isn't one here, but I want to account for the space below the grid where the sort of virtual home key is located, is 1608 pixels. And then the full height of the screenshot to represent the fact that there is no lower command bar is 1640. And again, you'll get full help with all those decisions by just reading that web page and following the video there. All right, so that tells me that I've got a grid region that's round in here. Now I'm going to go and decide how to deal with those various bars, how to whether to expose them or hide them based on that screenshot. So let's get the screenshot back up. This is the status bar at the very top. Then we have the upper message bar and the upper command bar, and then this space representing the virtual home button. So I'm going to hide this status bar, expose the upper message bar and the upper command bar, but I'm going to hide this lower message bar. So that's all done in the bar info region. I'm going to keep the status bar hidden. I'm going to expose the upper message bar, expose the upper command bar, and leave the lower message bar hidden. I'll save the preset again. Now I'll go back to the screenshot because I need some information about how the grid area is laid out. It's how many columns? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 columns, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. 6 by 10 is 60. So in the grid layout region, I'll say it is 10 columns and 6 rows. I'm also going to change the width of these rails between the openings because I think at this rate I'll be covering too much of the buttons. So I'll take the horizontal and vertical rail widths down to 2 millimeters each. Now, I can also use that screenshot I took as a way to compare the layout I have here to the actual app. And the process requires that I take the screenshot and turn it into an SVG format file. That process is described on this webpage. I'm not going to go through this now. It's not super difficult. It's not even super time consuming, but I don't want to go through that in this, which should be a relatively short video. So let's just say I have done that already. I've turned the screenshot into an SVG file, and then I copied that SVG file to where the keyguard designer is located. And in the Special Actions and Settings region, there's an option to include the screenshot. I'll change it from no to yes. And this takes a moment of time. You see the screenshot now just in a two-color representation. I'll look at the image from above by pressing this button here. And what I do see generally is that everything seems to align very nicely with the screenshot. If I saw that buttons were misaligned or something, I might question whether I counted the number of columns and rows right. Or if these things weren't properly exposed, I might question, did I measure the number of pixels for these regions properly? But everything looks really nice. One thing I can do though is I can kind of rotate this keyguard a little bit to see how visually accessible it is at different angles. So this keyguard display angle option here, I can change it to what if that keyguard were held at a 60-degree angle relative to the person who's trying to use it. And I can see that I still have a fairly good visual access to all the regions. If I didn't, I might consider reducing the height of these rails so that I could see more of the graphics, more of these bars up here. I'm also going to change that number back to 0 again, so I have more freedom in rotating the image around. For now, I think I'm also going to hide the screenshot, or not include the screenshot, just because including it there adds extra time to rendering the display. So we're almost done, but before I move forward, I want to know what are my options for mounting this keyguard to the tablet inside the case, that combination. And so there's a section right here on mounting method. Right now, there are no special features added to the keyguard for mounting purposes. Let's see what other options we have. There are 3 options here: suction cups, Velcro, and screw-on straps that are specific to instances where you don't have a case. And since that's really rare, I'm going to not cover these here. They're described on the first web page I showed you. Instead, I'll just step through some of these other ones. So clip-on straps, that option adds a little pedestal here depending on the thickness of your case where clips can be attached. All right, option number 2, we can add posts on the top edge of the keyguard for those cases that have a screen protector with a recess specifically for posts. Then I could add a shelf around the edge to simulate kind of what you often see in a screen protector, something you would put underneath the edge of a soft-sided case usually. Slide-in tabs, this is your traditional method for attaching keyguards. And in the slide-in tab section, you have control over whether they're just in the horizontal direction, or are they in the vertical direction, or are they in both horizontal and vertical. And then you also can control the width, thickness, and spacing of these tabs. Sometimes there's just no option, especially with screen protectors that fit very tightly to the screen. Sometimes the best you can do is add raised tabs. So you've got something coming off the edges of the keyguard that ride up the edge of the screen protector, and then these tabs can be attached either with double-sided tape or Velcro, or you even support inserting magnets inside these tabs. So let me also show you another kind of nice thing you can do with the Designer, and that is to mount your keyguard inside a keyguard frame. And it looks kind of like this. First, I'll say that I have a keyguard frame, in which case it reduces the overall size of the keyguard, and you can put little posts on the edge of the keyguard. Let's see what that looks like when I actually display the keyguard frame. So the keyguard fits inside a frame, and you can have any mounting method you want. The last thing I had set there was raised tabs, but this keyguard now rotates upward and out of the way on those posts, and then rotates back down when you are finished doing what you need to do, whether it's cleaning the surface of the tablet or setting new options somehow in the settings for the app. So this is printed in two parts, the keyguard and then the frame separately. And again, you can choose whatever mounting method you want for the frame, independent of the keyguard. All right, so I'm not going to be using any of those methods. I'm just going to use no mount. In other words, no special features added to the keyguard design for mounting purposes, because I really like to use microsuction tape when attaching a keyguard. It holds well enough that it's hard for the typical user to remove, but not too hard for the person aiding that user. And the tape leaves no residue of any kind on the screen, and it allows the keyguard to sit very close to the surface of the screen. Now I can further customize and personalize the keyguard design by adding some additional features through some instructions placed in the openings and additions.txt file. And there are instructions on how to do that on the website as well. But I just want to show you the kind of stuff that you can do there. I'll begin by let me see here. I'll begin first of all by hiding this upper command bar. So I've cut space out here for the vocab and menu options. I've changed the slope here to provide some more visual and manual access to this space, and I've personalized it by adding the name of the user to this screen as engraved, or in this case I've engraved all the way through the surface of the keyguard. And just to show you what this looks like, I'm going to add the screenshot back in. And there we go. Now the user's name is added to the keyguard to personalize it. We've given you access to these buttons if you need them. And also you pick up some additional plastic here and here to put your microsuction tape on. And then after turning this screenshot off, to prepare it for printing, I'll first render it. This can take a fair amount of time depending on how complex your design is. All right, that's the most time-consuming step. And now with the keyguard rendered, I'll export it as an STL. Give it some notable name, and now it's available to be 3D printed. The last thing I'll do is come back in here and save all my settings so I don't have to try to recreate my entire thought process and all my measurements here at a later date if I want to reprint this keyguard or make a modification to it.